I was like, Jarrod, we're finally done, man.
Oh man, it's such a fresh brush of relief, man. Oh, over a
You know
year.
what? I can imagine the elation that you're feeling, having this pending for kind of close to 2 years, right?
Yeah, I want the first one for sure. Oh, such a long time.
I I tell you, I got a little nervous a moment ago when we were in court because the prosecutor that had already told me that that she agreed with my motion and the last case was dismissed, she wasn't there. There was another guy there, and I'm going. And you see, you see the judge that we're dealing with. So I was going, oh boy. I go, where is she? And I'm like, did she get fired because she dismissed your
Yeah,
case?
right. Yeah.
So I got to tell you, like,
Uh,
people get butterflies. As an attorney, I get butterflies too, man. I'm going, damn it. Like, where is she? And I was just happy that he's like, yeah, we have an announcement. I was like, ah. But I was thinking, when you've been doing it this long, you go, it's Broward County. You never know what's going to happen.
yeah, no, trust me, they've been doing me the old rope a dope for a while. Never, nothing as expected.
Um, well, I'm glad that it's over, and I'm glad. I think it was actually your idea to kind of do a video about the situation and what occurred.
Yeah, Roger, I really, I appreciate everything you did. Like I told you, before I got you, I was really scared about the whole situation. Like you don't know how to handle, the court, the process, procedures, all that kind of stuff, and without, someone like you, investing in a good lawyer, it's really scary in that room.
Yeah, it could even be scary with a good lawyer. So I understand your sentiment, but usually it comes down to the judge or a jury.
Right.
Um, so give me let's talk about the very first case and what ultimately happened.
I went grocery shopping in Hollywood, Florida. And on my way back, I came down to the end of my street and I saw some cop cars at the other end of the street. So I put my groceries down near my apartment. I walked towards the cop cars to see what was going on. There's usually not any police activity in my neighborhood, so I was kind of curious, make sure everything was all right. I walked up to one of the cars. I didn't see anybody, but I walked up to one of the cars, and one of the computer screens was open. So try to see what was on the screen, what was going on. I took out my phone and tried to zoom in on the screen, and right when that happened, a couple cops came around the corner. They had their guns drawn. They ended up forcing me to the ground. They subsequently arrested me for loitering and prowling. Um, what else did I want to say? I guess my put on it, the whole thing is how disingenuous they were about the charges and proceeding with these charges that they knew were frivolous. And
Also charge you, I think, with resisting without violence on that as well, right?
right, do we think it was because I didn't identify right off, or
Yeah, I mean, I need to talk about this story because I think that sometimes, a lot of times, police overreact and then write something in a fashion to take away someone's freedom, to take away someone's ability to earn a living. And
absolutely? And I think the thing that got me out of this one was the video. Like, if we look when we look at the probable cause affidavit, so many things don't line up with this video, and it kind of saved my butt, because if it was just going to be my word against theirs, I don't think I would have lasted in court.
these are the officers, and just for look at the bright light, like
Yeah,
it's a
that's
very
where
well
that
lit
happened from there.
street
Yeah,
for being late at night. All right, here we go.
there's no volume right off until
Yeah.
they afterwards.
Now you see the gun in his hands. I'm just gonna let it play, and then we'll after it's over, we'll.
You can look inside your car, good shit. It's gonna hurt me. Look at my ass. Oh, man. Pull over. Sit up. Sit up. Oh, let me go. Did I do anything wrong? I cleaned it up on my own. I fucking know. No, there we go. Sit up. Investigating. Fine. Oh, what crime are we investigating? We're in a high crime area. I go through cars all the time. You're walking through with a mask on, looking through cars. What am I trying to take the DVD player? That's suspicion. Okay? That's what we're doing. You guys all got your body cameras on? Yep, we did. Ah, beautiful. Yep, there we go. Yeah, come on, let's go. What's your name? Fuck you. That's my name. Okay. Ask your mom what my name is. I know what you think you're doing. You think you're trying to like stir us up. That's not what's happening. What the fuck just happened, good shit? I told you when I stir you up. I'm investigating a lawsuit. That's fine. You can do that all you want, but I'm telling you. 1, 2, 3, 4. Are you gonna tell me this? 4 of you guys want to get involved in this? Are you gonna? We're all gonna go down this road. Yep. If you continue, please. Yeah. I can't. I'd love to hear it. When I get up now, you're gonna. No. Am I still being pinned down here? So you're tying me down. What do I get on me? Then you're tying me down now. We don't know that. I'm still a threat. You're either gonna explain. You're either gonna identify yourself. We're gonna write our report. I'm curious to what was going on. Domestic disturbance. You should have kept your computer on. We're in a high crime area. You're looking through vehicles with a mask on. That's reasonable suspicion. Oh my God. Simple. I told you this twice. Reasonable suspicion of what? Like tools to break into cars? We don't know that. Then you start. Okay. All the cars? Okay. What the fuck are you gonna do this? You're still going with this investigation. We're gonna do it. Either you're gonna do it. All right. Nice. Can I get up? No. Are you gonna identify yourself? It's really simple. No, absolutely not. Well, you understand you're gonna. What's your name, badge? Ben Castle 3711. Name, badge number. Come on, let's get for the record. On the cameras. Yeah, let's go. Are you gonna identify badge number? Are you gonna identify? Can I get my recorder back? Oh, you're gonna violate my First Amendment right. It's not a violation. You're not gonna let me record this? No, you're recording. You're not letting me record this right now. No, okay. You're stopping me from this is tire restraint. This is tire restraint. Guys, I'm coming after all your fucking pictures. You have no qualified immunity now. You know you're violating my rights right now. Qualified immunity out the door. Be careful with it. Yep. Okay, so here's the deal. I'm going to hear one more time. Oh, no. I've explained to you. No, give me 5 more times. I've explained to you. Get this fucking hoodie and mask off. I've explained to you. Fucking breathe. I've explained to you. I want to see my face and identify me so bad. I've explained to you why you detained for. I've explained to you why you have to have my Look me up and see what a fucking criminal.
I think I identify here.
January 27th, 1989. Bingo. Look me up and see what a fucking criminal I am. I don't care that you're. You don't know what that is? Yeah. No.
Is your birthday February 27th?
Yeah.
Get out.
I gave him all the right information. 100%.
No, but
that's insane.
What is it? Why don't you look it up? Why don't you put the cover back?
I'm under the impression it's against the law to give false identification to police. Yeah.
Absolutely not. Yeah, you never keep your mouth shut, but don't ever say something not
right. True. Don't give untruthful. Right.
And again, just to note, right? So people know the law, at least in Florida. I can't say in every state. But once they've handcuffed you and they said, hey, if you don't identify, right, now they placed you what you believe to be under arrest, you identified. Right. You gave them your name. So they can't say. And that's what the law in Florida says, folks. So, that's the arrest, right? And then it goes down. I'll kind of.
They were never clear about detainment or arrest. Typically you'd be like, okay, you're under arrest, and they state the crime, but they never said that. So yeah, I took that as okay, I'm arrested, so I guess I'll give my name.
Yeah, I think most people would think that they were under arrest once they've been tackled to the ground, handcuffed. Right. Again, because you weren't handcuffed initially, right? He said correct. Last chance, so I'm going to arrest you. So then he put handcuffs on you, and now they're taking you, standing you up. I think most people in your position would say, hey, I've been arrested. And then you did the right thing and said, hey, you need my name. This is my name, which is exactly, what the law says to do. So, but
I honestly thought after they tackled me, they were going to stand me up and be like, our bad, we're sorry, and go on with your night. This whole night as it progressed, I never thought they would, keep escalating the way they did and end up getting booked into jail.
So now you see they turn their camera, their cameras are on, but they mute. This is one of my pet peeves in the world.
And they do it all throughout this night.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of, well, about an hour and a half of this, and they're all talking, they're all corroborating, collaborating, however you want to say, which they're allowed to collaborate to discuss the facts, but not to enhance a crime. And so we have no idea what is being said. They're talking to each other, they're coming up. The great thing is that one of your cameras kept rolling, and we had some of that audio to talk about.
Got a little collusion.
And they were just trying to figure out, like, hey, what can we charge him with? Attempted burglary? Can we charge him, with resisting? Can we charge him with loitering and prowling? And they kind of go through those things, and they're just trying to jam you up as much as they can.
It's funny, once they immediately mute their cameras, the benign, the initial guy that tackled me, goes, well, I think he's just trying to stir us up, but I think we got him on this. Like, it's discussing how it's like a game to them. Let's try to make up the best case possible. It should just be the facts. Like, here are the facts. Was a crime committed? Instead, they had a crime that they wanted to be committed, and they try to find the facts around that crime.
I think we should talk about that more. Yeah, I mean, the officer ultimately says, and we'll hear it there, and it'll come back to it in a second. It's not playing yet. I'm not to that section, but he ultimately says, yeah, like to a sergeant that shows up on scene. Yeah, I think he was just trying to rile us up, like, by filming. And if that's what you think, why are you arresting him for resisting with violence and loitering and prowling? What are you doing? Right? This is someone's freedom. This is someone's liberty, and it's ridiculous. And look, do all cops do it? No, but there is a lot of officers that do it. Look, if you look in the background, what do you see in the background there?
Some guy having a smoke. Why don't they throw him to the ground? What's going on?
Right.
Throw that guy to the ground.
Right. Oh, you're walking around on the sidewalk in a high crime area. Look how light lit.
Are you crazy? You might get jumped at gunpoint. Get out of there.
Listen, I used to live in Hollywood, and the area that I lived in is a little bit of a high crime area. But I looked, this is east of Federal. This is like the nicest portion. I looked up these houses and stuff. They're all $1 million, 800, $1 million, $1.2 million. I was like, what is he talking about?
These are punchlines that they have ready in their back pocket. They don't care where they are. They'd be in Beverly Hills. They got the same antics they're going to spew at you.
Like two blocks from the beach. Listen, this is a nice area. Hollywood has some very nice areas, and I personally think that this is one of the nicer areas. But now the guys are talking, and they're trying to figure it out, and then the sergeant, shows up. But we don't have sound, so I'm not depriving anyone of seeing this. It's just they turn off all their body cameras.
Yeah.
Right. Look. So they sit and collect. Like, what are you doing? You're not writing a report. What are you doing? Right. Look. And if you can see the meter here, this is several minutes, like 10 minutes. Look, no, still.
Yeah, this is your tax dollars at work over in Hollywood. And they end up sending, I think, 6 more cars. I think 12 to 15 police officers were at this scene of this horrific crime of looking inside of a police car. This is, I mean, some departments are underfunded, but this one, it has 10 times the funding it needs to allocate it for its citizens, man. They just use this like 3 hours of just, joking around, talking to each other. And
isn't it crazy, right? Like, you're just sitting in the cop car and
pouring sweat with the windows up, and it's just.
Yeah, and I was going to say they don't start the car. I don't think the AC was on.
Oh no, there's no AC. The windows were fogging up. They knew where they were. They knew that they were going to make my night hell for sure.
So going back to the police report, the first thing they say, it's like, it feels like it's 90 degrees out, right? But then they put you in a police car, roll up the window while you're doing that. So I don't know. Is that I mean, hot boxing, they would have to turn the heat on, but I don't know. I think there's some issues here. I mean, you already said before, right? Like, I mean, you had the mask on, but again, a lot of people work. I mean, I'm in the courthouse every day, and people are still wearing COVID masks. Whatever your political position on that is, I think it's irrelevant because it is a normal practice in our society for people to wear COVID masks. This time, right? All their cameras are off, talking about how to charge you.
No, it's horrible. And you know, once the whole night they kept muting and unmuting their cameras, and you knew once they muted their cameras, they were gonna either they say something deplorable, like they've said racist, homophobic stuff while their cameras were off, all this kind of stuff to needle and bully me. I think a judge should be the only one. They said, what did they say? We were in the hospital, and one of the cops, I had to go to the bathroom, and I asked him if he's going to take the handcuffs because he would carry me. He said, that sounds pretty gay. And I said, well, what's wrong with being gay? He's like, and he got all flustered, and he's like, I got tons of gay friends. And then he looked around the room, and this was probably the most awkward moment of my life. He looks around the room in the hospital. He goes, I got a lot of black friends too. And the hospital was a lot of work. Yeah. I'm like, oh my, I was embarrassed for him. And I was so pissed off at the guy. I was like, oh God. And he just a cringy person. Like every time they would turn their mics off, they would just have the most inappropriate conversations, most unprofessional. They mocked me about my injuries that night. Like I think I had to sign some paperwork, and the cops were in the background. Oh, he signs that paperwork pretty good for a messed up shoulder. Like it was like being back in middle school, not even high school. I think the judge should be the only one that can restrict, or, you know, like there has to be some mediation process with the body cameras and the sound and whether they go on and off. I believe.
Yeah. The only thing that I liked what the sergeant did was that he ordered medical and he ordered crime scene investigation because you alleged that they attacked you. You did have visible injuries. And hang on, we're going to see if we can find that. But I don't like the fact that, like, you know, again, they keep going off mic. What he did stay on, you know, on the audio was, hey, look, he claimed that you injured him. I got to call out crime scene investigation. And you're like, oh, you're kidding me, and all that. And granted, you weren't beaten to death or anything like that, but the reality, you still had scrapes and bruises and you were bleeding. So, and we're going to show that, right?
Do you think he would have been able to tell this cop to stop going through with this if he really wanted to, or do you think it's this initial officer's discretion regardless?
No, because I've seen other videos online, Jarrod, where an officer goes, you know, a boss goes, well, what are you doing? Like, stop.
I'll go to real quick and see what they did to me. Just for your best interest, you know. Oh, nice.
And that was the part, right? Like that sergeant he followed the book on that. And so that's the only props I'm going to give. Not that they had a right to walk over to you as a consensual encounter, to approach you and say, hey, what are you doing? And you could have said, none of your business. And you probably would have kept walking, or you would have stopped. And if you stopped, they could have kept talking and asking questions, but you would have not been under, you wouldn't have been required to answer their questions.
Right.
Drawing a weapon, tackling you to the ground. I don't think in any place that's reasonable. And again, but right, I mean, just
I'm slowly losing it because the sweat's just pouring off me. They don't have any water. I haven't had water in hours, and the sad part was there's a hotel right across the street that has a vending machine right about 10 feet from there that they could have went and got me some water. But
that's, he just brought it up just now. You can add that to all the other contracts. So he's been around here.
Don't give us a local line.
No, he's definitely, that's why we're fucking taking him. We're not gonna do this all night long.
All right, what do you guys want?
she was the worst.
See, that's called a nugget, right? That's the female officer that's trying to fit in with the guys, and that's why we're taking him. You know, because someone said right in that group, yeah, we've seen him around here filming stuff before because of things that you may have filmed in Hollywood or whatever. But that's why what? Like that shouldn't be the reason that they're bringing you.
That's the part you don't say out loud. Like she just didn't,
Well,
she didn't.
yeah, the camera. She turned on her camera as she was. Yeah. So let's move this thing. Hang on.
Yeah, she wasn't the sharpest.
So now they're playing medical, right? Now, granted, I can't tell because some of these people like that show up. This is like fire and EMT, but they're having a conversation. Well, maybe we should check him out, but because he's going to clean. Oh, he's got a sprained ankle. He's got some scrapes. Like, if you would have tackled one of those officers and they had a scrape on,
that's a good point.
Like,
yep,
that they would have milked it.
They would have got a hell of back out of
job, PTSD. They would have a couple of weeks to heal up because their ankle was sore and they were bleeding. And I just think that's so disingenuous, right? So
actually, can I say one thing, Roger? So so when the EMT guy, they came, I was, it was eye-opening. Like I was so happy to see them because these are people that are probably going to hopefully have my back. And, because all I had now, these 4 police officers who just threw me on the ground. But the police officers talk to the EMT first and give them their, watered down version of what happened. And then the EMT guy comes up and starts immediately giving me attitude. He asked me, I think he asked me what was hurting. And I started like, well, they threw me on my knees, my back. He's like, well, yeah, that's going to happen when you break the law and the cops throw you on the ground. Like just very, and then he threw 2 big bandages on my cuts on my knees. And he, because of the hair on your legs, he goes, those are going to be more painful when you take them off later than the cuts on your knees. Like, it's just so disgusting how, easily these people believe the word of these officers, and they can just, if the officers have something against you, they can just ruin you. It's just so frightening.
And so there's the mics off.
Picking his nose.
So the only person who had their mic, see all these guys, they turned their mic off except the sergeant. And so that's where I got that.
I didn't know that the sergeant's mic was on. All right.
Yeah, I'll show you.
So did he go by the rules mostly, you think, Roger? Or remember the book when it came to procedures anyway?
I think that normally they're going to back their officers, but yeah, I would have said exactly what was he doing. I mean, looking into a car, I mean, you saw what he wrote, right? So that's what they termed. Give me a sec. Let me see if I just find the part with because that was the best part of it when they said, "Oh, we got to do basically there's going to be an investigation." Well, that's why. Look how many cars. Like this is like you see all the people in the background. It's almost, but
there must have been 15 cops at one point.
Yeah, you're sitting in the back of the police car the whole time.
Yeah, like why do we need 15 guns at this scene? I don't get it. Maybe some of them should have been on patrol, but with such a high, especially such a high crime area,
Fair enough. Once you get down to counter, get me someone. Okay. Well, our class is going to come out and they're going to photograph it.
That's when the crime scene investigation got there. They took pictures of everybody.
Are you able to stand up or no? Okay, no, it's all right.
They were nice. You told me they were probably asleep, and I woke them up. I feel bad now.
Right.
I wouldn't.
I don't dress them. Came over and he put a band-aid on my. Want to take it off so you can see it? I didn't hurt my face.
Yeah, I didn't have to kill them.
It just shows you how many body cameras are off, and then someone remember. And luckily, people would kick them on and off, and we could able to put the puzzle together. So ridiculous, though.
You'd hope one of them would.
And you could, it's hard to see, but your knees are bleeding, and you know, and we have some pictures of it.
I think they ended up messing my back and my rotator cuff up too, but yeah, tending to my knees.
And now they're being nice with the cameras on.
Oh yeah, yeah.
With the other stuff, right?
That's what's staying with us.
I never did get that mask back.
I didn't choose to.
I mean, I could file a motion, but it's a $3 mask.
That would be my favorite motion.
I'm skipping through some of it. So yeah, so here's the officers, whatever they're going to claim. So why on earth are they taking pictures of the officers for injuries when there's obviously nothing with them? But again, this is to set up and protect themselves later, which I get it. But
what's going on, boss? Hey, what's your name? What's your first name?
How you doing?
Here's the sergeants.
So call me Jay. That's what you're
what's your legal name?
Jarrod.
Thank
Do they commit a crime? The probably doesn't apply to tax-funded vehicles.
Okay, I just want to explain this to you, right? Make sure you get these guys the correct information, right? Because if you do get them false information, that is obstruction. You understand that?
I know the laws. It's a lot better than these guys.
Okay, so the information that you gave them.
Look at your car.
Relax. So the information you gave them is accurate and correct, right? Okay.
I don't break the law. I'm a law-abiding citizen.
ID?
Yeah, can I get some water?
One second. You have that ID number?
Let's get a medical.
You got my ID number?
You have the
Give me some water right now?
Was that? Once you get down to where they go, once you get to the destination, they give you water. Do you have that ID number? For you? Yeah. I'm gonna have to do a use of force because he is a complaint of an injury. Yeah.
Oh,
He got scratches, so I gotta do it. Who was it that took him down? Okay.
I don't know why, but that was the part.
man.
Oh man, come on.
Dad.
You rolling?
81. Can you?
He sounds so upset.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do a use of force because he's complaining about injury. That's his or no?
No, you want. We have.
That's right.
Before I do that, I'm gonna leave it now.
I'm gonna have
He's saying he can't. That's fine. You can move out the window.
Charles on his way here, but I'll just have him go to the hospital instead.
You see that? You get these are little nuggets that you catch, right? Hey man, I'm gonna roll the window down. He's saying he can't breathe, right?
So he said he has a window up.
Let's talk. Let's hang out. Let's circle around. Hey man, can I roll the window down? Like, yeah, okay. He's saying he can't breathe. Yeah, you can roll the window down. Think about that.
Think
about that, right?
It's horrible. It's so grimy.
You still rolling?
I'm muted, but I'm rolling. You want me to go off mute?
No, it don't matter. So, you got his information written down, or he has it?
Yeah.
Okay, I got to get it.
Did you want to see a video?
The other four, can you have an audio response, please?
So I gotta say, I don't like that, right? Like, and you asked the sergeant, hey, do you want to see the video that I'm right and they're wrong? So I take it back, right? Because even though like he was respectful to you, he ignores something. Why wouldn't you say, sure, let me look at it? Well, what does it take him? I mean, how long was the incident? Even if it's 5 minutes, they're already out there. It's 11 o'clock at night or 12 o'clock at night. Like, what does it matter? Like, take a look at it. If anything, good police work, it may show something you did wrong, right? Because
100%. So
I like the fact that he called and use of force complaint because he did it by the book. But I don't like that. Why not just grab my camera, take my camera, I'll give you the code and you can see what happened.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he's just trying to cover his own,
It's hard. He could have just clearly looked at that,
he thinks they think they're on a team against some citizens, and it's them against us, and it's pathetic.
I 100% agree with that. So let's go. Here's our motion.
Took this case over, Roger, from me probably like a year after this happened, or maybe a little longer.
Yeah, your case was already a year old, and I was kind of scared that, hey, the judge is going to force me to try it or have a motion. So I got the motion. Well, you can see this was filed on 5/6, right? Is this one? Yeah, on 5/6. I think you hired me in March, maybe.
Yeah, around
you would know better the date of hire than I would.
Yeah, I'm sure I could find it. I know we talked a little bit, and then I ended up feeling that I really need to hire you to represent me because everybody else was kind of leaving me by the waistband. But my first lawyer, so this is the first motion that was presented for this case, right? And that was over a year since. Yeah. And I got a lawyer really, right after that this incident happened, and he didn't put in any motions, anything but continuances.
In fact, you didn't even have body camera stuff, right? A year had gone by, you didn't have anything.
He wouldn't give me any or evidence. He wanted to have control of all of it. And with you, I trust you, but it's still nice to know what's going on in your case and, have the ability, even, every now and then you might catch something that your lawyer does. Oh, what about this? Did you see this part of the video, but he just wanted to have 100% control of
the case. The thing is, I never got the audio video from him. He had never collected
He never
requested it. I don't know. It just.
Oh, he never even got it. Oh,
yeah, I never got it.
So he never even put in for a discovery motion.
No, because he had basic discovery. Gave me paper. Okay. But it was
no depositions, no other
video,
motions.
no audio, nothing. Which is kind of the key to the case, right? You can read a police report and it's one-sided. It's written to convict the person, but what's the evidence that may be exculpatory? So let's go through the motion real quick and kind of educate folks. So here's our background facts, right? And we use all of their words in the motion, right? June 30th, 1:30 a.m. Officer Beneska, Hollywood, was on an unrelated scene. 1706, several officers, when he observed the defendant in the instant case walking eastbound on the sidewalk. Defendant was walking alone and wearing a hooded sweatshirt, shorts, and a medical face mask, right? Everything he said, we don't, as a defense attorney, you lose credibility if you start changing the facts or acting like something didn't happen. Defendant was video and audio recording himself walking down the street, right? Officer allegedly observed defendant walk towards one of the police vehicles that was parallel parked near the sidewalk. Defendant was walking down. As defendant near the car, officer alleged he observed the defendant look into the car's window. That's it. Seconds of the defendant looking to the window. Officer Beneska, however you say his name, Benicasa, whatever.
I have some different words that I call him, but
yeah. And three other officers on scene immediately walked up to the defendant and grabbed the defendant's arm. When the defendant was asked if he was doing anything, the defendant asked if he was doing anything illegal, told him he was looking into a car and they would be patting him down. But they were grabbing you and throwing you to the ground. It wasn't exactly the way they made it sound. But, we still use the facts. Did
they ever write that they drew guns on me, or did they admit that?
No, but luckily the video shows two officers of the four that approached pulled weapons. One had it aimed at you. So
22-104. Servers burglary. What do you guys want? Am I breaking a law here?
What are you doing?
Am I breaking a law?
Yeah,
don't touch me.
No.
Don't touch me.
I'm patting you down.
Don't touch me. Don't touch me.
I'm patting you down.
Don't be quiet, guys. Alright.
You're looking inside of our car.
Oh, big fucking deal. I can look inside your car, dipshit.
You're gonna hurt me?
Fucking cry ass.
Roll out. Pull over.
Fucking let me go. Did I do anything wrong? I can get up on my own. I'm a fucking adult.
Yes.
Holy
No,
fuck.
stay right here. Just sit up. We're investigating a crime.
Oh, what crime are we
Yes,
investigating?
We're in a high crime area. People go through cars all the time. You're walking through with a mask on, looking through cars.
Well, am I trying to take your DVD
That's
player?
reasonable suspicion. Okay?
They charged him with loitering and prowling, and they charged him with resisting arrest. The loitering and prowling got no filed by the state attorney's office, and then the motion is based on the resisting arrest without violence. And this is where, you know, we did some case law research, and a lot of these cases, a lot of people obviously know there's a U.S. Constitution and there's a Florida Constitution, and some people have heard of a case called Terry v. Ohio, and where it says without reasonable, well-founded suspicion that the individual seized is engaging in criminal wrongdoing, like a reasonable, well-founded suspicion. That's the key right there, right? Because he kept saying it's reasonable, well-founded. You know, he left out a few words. Yeah. Law enforcement is without authority to conduct a warrantless search and seizure. See Terry v. Ohio, Popple v. State. And I use this case so much. A mere hunch is insufficient to constitute reasonable suspicion.
But I still think they use it excessively.
Oh, like an individual cannot have committed loitering and prowling unless law enforcement has observed two elements. The defendant I need some water. The defendant loitered and prowled in a place at a time or in a manner not unusual for law-abiding individuals. Now, I went through a lot for that because I was going, well, you know, it is like 12:30 at night, but then there's other people going, right? It's not unusual to walk down a sidewalk, right? I mean, it's right about a half a mile from the Circle in Hollywood, things close. So, you know, people work in a place or a time in a manner not unusual. So the time I was like, yeah, that's still good.
Right.
The loitering was under circumstances. This is the key to the case, because like I think we got a check mark on the first one. Was under circumstances that warrant a justifiable and reasonable alarm or immediate concern for safety of persons or property, and that's what he wrote, and that's from EFV State and Madge. But before, and you know, I sent, I don't know, there's like 100 pieces of case law in this motion, and we can attach the motion.
You went through a lot of relevant cases.
I just wanted to be detailed. We had a tough judge. Right. We had officers that were all going to back one another. So I wanted to dot every I and cross every T. And it says, before a stop to investigate loitering and prowling can be ordered, that officer must observe conduct that creates requisite alarm in the officer's mind. So then they say, stating the defendant must intentionally commit conduct that defendant knows. Now, this is what you had to have had. It's got to be part of your mens rea. The defendant must intentionally commit conduct that the defendant knows or with substantial certainty should know would cause an objectively reasonable observer to have reasonable alarm that defendant's conduct is creating an imminent safety risk for person or property. There's no way you could have thought that looking into a car window would turn into that.
Right. Especially a police car. Like, I mean, they don't have the best car radios, the police cars.
Exactly. The court gives examples, and I put everything in the motion. Circumstances that may be considered when determining such a breach of the peace is imminent. The person takes flight. You didn't take flight, right? Refuses to identify himself or herself. But again, that goes to if they had enough, they didn't, right? Or and I had to research, or manifestly endeavors to conceal him or herself or any object. You didn't, right? You didn't try to. You even said, take the thing off. You want to ID me so bad. Look at my face. Your hands were up. However, a vaguely suspicious presence is insufficient to establish the first element, right? Where a person's conduct is consistent with both criminal and non-criminal activity. You could look, anyone who's watching this and goes, man, he's got a hoodie on, he's got a face mask on. Well, he's also got shorts and flip-flops on, right? Most burglars want to be agile, and you can't be so agile running in flip-flops, right?
It didn't.
You don't have any tools on you. So I just want you to think, I think most people, I think if you polled 100 people, they would go, well, it could have been a burglar. Yeah. but this is the case that says it, where a person's conduct is consistent with both criminal and non-criminal activity. Such facts do not give rise to reasonable suspicion of a crime, and that's citing Peterson v. State. That's huge, right? Like it was putting this to dissect every argument. What I did was we went through every single word in the PC. I looked at the videos of the stop portion, the accident, like where after they tackle you, the police car, and the talking and all that. That's all irrelevant because it's a stop that I'm tackling, right? So here, there were absolutely no articulable facts suggesting the defendant had any involvement in illegal activity. The defendant's action walking down a public sidewalk, approaching the vehicle, are just suggestive of an innocent person, conduct unrelated to criminal conduct. Within seconds, his presence near the vehicle, law enforcement seized the defendant. They surrounded him, grabbed his arms, told him he was not free to leave, and forced him to the ground. Whenever a police officer accosts an individual and restrains his freedom to walk, he is seized. Terry v. Ohio, right? So again, I don't want to read it to everybody, but I'm going to put the motion in there.
So what you're saying with that is, if they didn't have, so once the loitering and prowling got dropped, they don't have anything holding on to the resisting without violence, then what are you in turn resisting?
Well, let me explain. So,
okay.
All right. So when the state attorney's office says, hey, we're going to get rid of the loitering and prowling, well, that's great. But the officers are still going to use it because there's a motion to suppress. All the facts are relevant. Even, hearsay is allowed in a motion to suppress in Florida, right? Like normally they say, well, so-and-so said. Well, guess what? Hearsay is allowed. Okay. So I knew that the officers were going to go, well, Judge, he's got this, he's walking, it's dark, it's a high crime, like, it's late at night. Like they're adding all of these things to formulate their argument. So I wanted to attack it and show that they didn't have that. And it says right here, a criminal charge requires, in order for them to resist, without violence, the officer was engaged in lawful execution of duty. Enforcement was not engaged in lawful execution of a duty here. Law enforcement stopped, seized, and searched the defendant without reasonable suspicion he was committing or was about to commit a crime. Here, because there was no reasonable, they were on the job, but what they were doing when they approached him was illegal because there were no reasonable articulable suspicion the defendant was committing a crime, and there was no legal investigative stop. When they did that, like I said before, they could have walked over and said, hey, man, what's your name? Hey, you're a nice guy. I want to talk to you, man. Let's hang out. Like they could do all that. And
or even watch for a little bit to see what was going on.
Exactly. And that they jumped the gun, right? Yeah. So as to the second element, the defendant's action did not constitute obstruction because here's the case law. So all the people, like all those folks online that are doing, First Amendment auditors and stuff in Florida, an individual may refuse to identify himself to a police officer when he has not lawfully been detained, right? Lawfully been detained. In your case, you were detained, but you were not lawfully detained. Now, listen, folks, that is a very hard thing for you to determine. Most people should just go, here's my name, and not give anything else. Nothing
after
else.
The fact, yeah.
But
let your lawyer deal with that, after the fact.
When failing to give one's correct identity is not a crime unless the person is legally detained. So in your case, and it's rare because I don't want to sell this on the internet, right? If you gave an incorrect name, but it turned out that they illegally detained you, it's still not a crime, right? Failing to give one's correct identity, but that's a game that you don't want to play. Just
because if you're wrong, that's another charge, right?
It's another charge, right? Why go through it? An individual may properly refuse to give his name or otherwise identify himself when he has not been lawfully arrested and prior to a lawful arrest. Like,
you decimated each point one by one because they wanted to come at it with like a cluster and jam you up. You took it and dissected it and said, okay, this point refers to this, and this is why, took, I'm sure, a lot of time and a lot of research. And
it did. So let me tell you, I love that you said that. They come with a cluster. The court hears the totality of a circumstance. Every time you walk into court, it's always the totality of the circumstances, Your Honor. officer, you arrested him. Yes, based on the totality of the circumstances. That's why I had to break down the BS of the totality of the circumstances, because there was no totality of the circumstances.
Right.
There was a man walking down the street. He had a hoodie on, right? I'm pretty sure everyone after Trayvon Martin case realizes like having a hoodie doesn't make you a criminal, right?
Right, yeah.
You know, Eminem wears a hoodie in every video, doesn't he? I like Eminem. I just watched 8 Mile the other day.
He's a good guy. I grew up with him.
So, okay, but here's the case, right? First of all, it's First Amendment protected,
Right.
activity, right? Your speech is free. Obstructive conduct rather than offensive words are normally required to support a conviction under statute. And you see, we kind of played with the words. While the defendant was impolite following his detention, words alone rarely, if ever, amount to obstruction. See Daw v. State, Francis v. State, Saws v. State, and with limited exceptions, physical conduct must accompany offensive words. There was no physical resistance here. So we went step by step in the case. And so I deal with prosecutors. Prosecutors are coming in and out of the state attorney's office all over. And this happened to be in Broward County. So my first prosecutor, I send it. I go, listen, here's an email. Prior to me filing it, like before we start wasting time and having the big battle, I want you to take a look at it, read my case law. I provide all my case law. And I say, sir or ma'am, please read it. If you disagree with me, please let me know why, if you have any case to support your argument, because I give you, 100 cases or whatever to support my argument. Please let me know. And, if we can't have a meeting of the minds, if you agree, then I don't even have to file the motion. Right. So, I mean, kind of like, I'm not coming at you like guns blazing, like, Hollywood police.
Let's work together if we can.
Yeah. Like, let's like, can reasonable minds often agree? Reasonable minds often differ. So I give it to the first prosecutor. Literally, I get a one sentence, and it probably wasn't even, I don't think it was an hour after I sent it to her. Yeah, we disagree. Like, and I'm going, okay, first of all, like in my mind, I'm going, there's no way you read it, right? And again, I don't want to put anyone on blast, but listen, sometimes tone comes across bad in an email, right? And I don't remember if I spoke to this prosecutor or not, but I just remember in my mind. You ever see, I'm going to give you an example. You ever see a UFC fighter or a boxer right before a fight and the coach like slaps their face? Come on, Billy, you're going to do it. Yeah, like
pump them up.
This prosecutor pumped me up because she basically, or I don't even know if it was a man or a woman.
Right.
Like, I remember the tone came across to me and I was like, all right, where you see my boxing stuff about? I was like, now it's on, like, and I put that much more effort because after we added a section about the filming, I said, photography is not a crime, and actually, recording his encounter with law enforcement clearly irritated the officers. However, again, these are for the auditors, right? Recording does not provide grounds to stop, search, or arrest. The right to record police officer in public is protected by the First Amendment, Waite v. State for a Florida case, right? And that was in 2024, right? And also Pickett v. Copeland, 2018. Simply put, the First Amendment protects the act of photographing, filming, or otherwise recording police officers conducting their official duties in public. And just because I know what it's about, it was the recording. They can say what they want. Right. And they can turn it into high crime area and all of these different things, but that's fluff. Like, you got to deal with facts, and facts are, you're a guy walking down the street. Sure, you got a hoodie on. Sure, you got a COVID mask on. Sure, you looked in the car. You even said, hey man, I was just looking. You should have closed your computer if you didn't want me to see it. Right. Do we leave highly secret information on? What information's on there anyway? Like, come on, everyone's so caught up with this. Oh, like they're private. What's on the police thing? It's probably an address and maybe a report. Like, there's no one in the back of the police car. You're not getting socials and stuff. It just. Yeah. It's
I mean,
always
even at that
about-
point, I think it would be that officer's responsibility to keep that, computer screen closed and keep that information, private on his end.
And it's funny because I was hoping to get a video of that guy that was out there with his belly hanging out.
Smoking the cigarette at the.
Yeah, smoking. I was hoping that he'd walk over and look at one of the cars.
That'd be great. Or he came in, looked at the one that I'm in, or something. Yeah, man.
So, but anyway, so the first prosecutor goes, "No way, file your motion." Okay. Now I said what I say to Jarrod. Now the fight's on, right?
Right.
Then, the motion took a while to set. The judge had a very busy docket. He has a lot of cases, and I set it, and it was set about, I don't know, 2 months, 2.5 months ahead. And during that time, a new prosecutor came in. The good thing was the new prosecutor was more of an experienced individual, and they called me up and said, "Hey, I see you have a motion. It's coming up. I plan on reading everything and studying this weekend, reading all your case law. I saw your email that, Mr. Foley, if I have any case law in opposition, I'll send it to you." This prosecutor sent the case, one case that she had in opposition, which I don't know that it was an opposition, but it was a case that she was going to use.
Mm-hmm.
And then she emailed me after, it was like a holiday weekend, and with kudos to this prosecutor, without saying anything, without debating, she literally wrote me an email that says, "I think you're 100% right. I don't think your client should have been arrested. Based on my thoughts, I went to a supervisor. I reviewed all the case law, what case law I came up with in contrast to argue the state's version. And my supervisor agreed that this case should be dismissed, and they null-prossed it. So we didn't actually have to go forward with the motion." And, just so you know, because I know that when that happened, you even said to me, "Roger, I didn't know that a prosecutor would always, I didn't know a prosecutor would advocate for me," something to that effect.
Right.
And I literally, after she did that, I wrote a letter to the state attorney's office, because it doesn't always happen that way in Broward, and I'm not bashing Broward, but it doesn't always happen that way. Sometimes everyone gets caught up with the fight to fight. And I thought that the
100%.
motion, the argument, and the video outlined exactly what happened, and they jumped the gun. They could have watched you. They could have talked to you. There was no reason for it. And like that woman said, the female, yeah, because he's doing that, now he's going for the ride.
Yep.
And you went for the ride. You beat the case. So for all those law enforcement officers, and we can post all it's all in there. That's all in the motion. It's going to be public record. Hollywood Police Sergeant, you did one good thing right. You should have taken 5 minutes to look at his video to maybe, because maybe a reasonable mind would have been like, "You're arresting him for that."
I agree.
Right. So, I mean,
lesson learned.
It stinks. And, you said something to me, and we briefly talked about it yesterday. So I would like to kind of finish with that. You said something to me after the case that if a defendant didn't hire or have, tell me that and share that.
Yeah, so I had to pony up some money and do the due diligence and find a good lawyer to handle these cases, and it was expensive. It was a lot of work to find you. I had to get a lot of recommendations and stuff, and I did some research into you and felt like you would have my back in this. But it's scary if you don't have the means to hire someone like you, or hire someone who's going to have your back. They can really screw you over here. I'm not going to be able to write that motion and do that research and the procedures that how to do. And once you did that, and once you stepped up, they saw that we meant business, and they got rid of the case because they didn't want to have to deal with a seasoned lawyer, someone who was going to hold them to the fire, in my opinion. But yeah, like you said, there's some people who can't afford that. Imagine some people out there, if they get jammed up in the system, it's scary, man.
But I think what it comes down to is, are you hiring an attorney that's going to put the time into it? Is there enough squeeze to get the juice? Meaning, like, you could hire an attorney and spend, a exorbitant amount of money, and you actually did hire an attorney and spend some money, and nothing really happened after a year. So it's not necessarily how much money you spend, it's finding someone that's passionate.
100%.
And also with passion comes, here's the reality, and I'm going to say it. If you came to me and said, "Hey, Roger, I only got $300. Would I have been able to take on the time?" I mean, this first motion, I spent a couple of weeks researching because I was scared about some of the words when you're like, "Hey, dipshit," and stuff like that, right? I was going,
Yeah,
how do I get around like, I know he's allowed to say it, but man, those cops voted for that judge. And I'm like, so he's going to want to pick my stuff apart. So I was so worried about it. And we had that conversation. I go, Jarrod, I'm so worried about the verbiage, right? But you didn't do anything wrong. You have a First Amendment right. But some people just don't have the funds to put up the fight, or they don't know how to choose the man or woman attorney. Maybe they read a billboard, or a friend of a friend, and they don't know. Like, I mean, you went through another attorney and interviewed I don't know how many dozens before you found me, and then you didn't even hire me right away, right? I think we did like a paid consultation in depth, and we went through stuff, and then it's still, you were like, you know what, let me still think about it and talk to friends, family, your loved ones, and ultimately came back and said, I want to hire you.
Yeah, let me just touch on that quick. Like you said, I just went out. This guy had a nice picture on a billboard, hired him. He told me he was going to fix everything. Everything was going to be good. Gave him some money, and he ends up screwing me over the whole entire time. I didn't do my due diligence. I learned my lesson, and that's why when I immediately after that, I saw your consultation fee. So I'm like, I'm gonna pick this guy's mind for an hour, and after talking to you for an hour, it just kind of clicked. Like, this guy is passionate. If he takes on, I don't think you want to take on my case, but just because you knew it was going to be expensive to do all the research and all the stuff that my first lawyer screwed me over on. But you were honest, and you can tell that was you can tell people's character, and you can tell with you, you're being completely 100% honest and upfront, and that's all, I could ask for. And it was night and day compared to you and my first attorney. And people like a mechanic, I don't know how to work on cars, so I got to try to find a good mechanic to work on my car, and the process is hard because who's got the flashiest billboard? You got to do your own. That's the part you do have to do your own research and find a lawyer who's going to have your back and look out for you.
One of the reasons I was glad, and you're the first, client that, has said, hey, let's do a video and share the whole case, right? Some people, right, like I've had home invasion robbery, I've had burglary battery, I've had armed drug trafficking. A lot of folks don't want to come on video and go like, yeah, man, like like this kind of stuff. Your case was simply although it was complex, it was simple. The reality is you're walking down the street, this is what they do. But to get that route, there's just a lot of obstacles. Like, follow your motion, Foley. Like, we're going forward. Like, okay, they're going to cram, one after another. They're going to come in and go, yeah, he looks scary. Yeah, geez, it's the middle of summer or whatever, yeah. We couldn't tell if he had a weapon. Yeah, it's a high crime. Just all the
It's a fluff,
I think that's why I like it so much. But it's hard because when I read police reports, I always say I'm reading between the lines, because I think that when you read between the lines, you see a report is written to. And I want to pull that out because I go, it's so one-sided. Like, you don't get to go like, hey man, let me show you my video. Like, no one cared about your video, right? And the fact is, on your case, we didn't even use your video or submit it into evidence because we thought that they made so many mistakes that we really didn't need it, and why complicate an issue. So anyway,
but yeah, like you said, I think transparency, and like I said, I couldn't write that motion. I couldn't do that research and stuff. And if you can show some other people and they can use that as like a blueprint, I remember after our first court case, you went and talked to I think she said something about she had to go to daycare, some single mom, and you met her in like the hallway or the elevator, and you gave her some advice about her case that she brought up in it while you were sitting in court for me, which I thought was, you know, very honorable. And I like, how many lawyers are going to go out of their way to, you know, just be a good person? And that's why you got to do your research, and you got to find someone who's going to have your back, who's going to represent you. You know, it's very important.
Yeah. So ending with that, I appreciate those kind words, and I actually forgot about helping that lady in the courthouse. So thank you for
I'm sure it wasn't the first or last time.
No,
I'm sure you do that regularly. It seemed pretty natural to you, and that felt good. That, you know, the guy who's having my back has other people's back, and I would love if you could use my motion to show other people how to better represent themselves who can't afford you. That'd be great.
I'm if it's okay with you, I'll put your motion online. I'll put this video on my YouTube channel. Hopefully you'll share it. Other people will share it. I hope that I did it right and everyone can see the motion. I'll go back and try to watch it before I post.
Yeah.
I'll definitely send you a link, and then we'll catch up for the other two cases, because, you know, I don't want to spoil it, but we had 3 cases, and this is the first one to
yeah, this is what got us set on the right path, and I couldn't have done it without you, Roger. I really do appreciate you very much.
I appreciate you choosing my law office, brother. So with that, thank you, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, later, brother.
All right, buddy. See ya.